seems that bad things are happening to good people, the age-old question is, why does heaven allow such things to happen? Or why doesn't he do something about this? There may be an answer for that question. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 1, the Torah portion, Shoftim. It's found in the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 16, and today we read together verses 18 and 19. Appoint judges and officers within all your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim has given you according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous right ruling. Do not distort right ruling. Do not show partiality, nor take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. So from this, we understand that there are two categories of people who are appointed, anointed, and set apart by Yah in Am Israel to facilitate righteous judgment. Indeed, these two qualities are the two pillars upon which the Torah stands. That is, that we have righteousness, and then secondly, that we have justice. Justice is more than just judgment or the wrath of Yah being poured out. Justice is about dealing correctly with your neighbor, finding that which is right and following it, making sure that the needs of the oppressed are taken care of, that the oppressor is punished. If you live in the typical small town USA, as I have often done and still do, it is often remarked, well, it's not whether you're right or wrong, it's who you know. And indeed, a lot of times, and especially in the court systems, there are good old boy networks. I have seen it firsthand and know it to be true. If your lawyer is friends with the judge, you got a good shot. If you bring in a hot shot from outside of town, you don't stand a chance. It's just not going to work. So what is justice? How do we find this? How do we deal with this? Well, Yah says there are two people I want you to employ. There are judges. In Hebrew, the word is Shoftim. You might transliterate that S-H-O-F-T-I-M, Shoftim. And then there is a secondary quality of person that we don't hear much about, but that is the officers. A better translation might be sheriffs. Can you imagine the role of being a Torah Sheriff? Slight different spelling here, S-H-O-T-R-I-M, Shotrim. Shoftim, Shotrim. So these individuals make sure that the Torah is being followed correctly. I've heard the horror stories from my parents over the years of the holiness police, self-appointed, with their own self-made badge and whistle, going about looking to see if anyone was not living holy so that they could be called on the carpet and dealt with, maybe even cast out of the church. I've heard these people's horror stories over such infractions as anklet socks and short sleeve shirts and a haircut that wasn't appropriate. Thankfully, those days are far behind us in most ways. But there are still those who are self-appointed Torah police who want to call you out on every infraction. That's not the intent of this text. The text here is that Yah is saying to you, I want people to help you, not arrest you. The goal is not to put someone in Torah timeout or jail. The goal is to help people rise up to a higher quality and standard of living that the Torah would afford to us. And so the goal again is to settle disputes. Especially in the Hebraic roots community, we have disputes, arguments about the shape of the earth and calendar and dates and so on. Ad nauseum, the list goes on. But rather than throwing barbs and insults at each other in social media or in congregations from across town. The goal should be, let's deal with this. Let's go to the elders. Let's go to someone who has a sense of quality about their life, their living. Let's deal with this and let's settle our dispute. And it very well may come down to we agree that we disagree. And that's fine. Everyone should be allowed to have an opinion, a choice. That is, as long as they align with the Word. So we've also heard the ideas of, well, the end justifies the means. Or we're trying to accomplish the greater good. And out of that, our world system says then that we need to deal with the means to get things done. You just got to get the job done. Sometimes you got to use white lies. Sometimes there are sins that prevent greater sins. Keep in mind the bigger picture, we're told, and bending the rules just enough to get the job done. Well, these are seeds from the fruit of the wrong tree. This is reasonings. This is man's attempts to reason out in his own mind how to apply the Torah. In actuality, while we would want to just read the Word and apply the Word, we can't always be trusted to do that correctly because we're always going to give ourselves the benefit of a doubt, and we're always going to allow ourselves to fudge where we think it necessary. On the day where you and I stand in front of the judge of the Torah, Yeshua our Messiah, and he holds us accountable for every idle word that comes out of our mouths, and he deals righteously with us, what will we say in those days? Well, I just didn't think that mattered that much. Bacon bits on the salad. Well, it wasn't a whole piece of bacon. I just wanted a little bit. You can't justify yourself. The Word is that which will justify you. Again, we're talking about reasonings. If we go over to the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter number 10, verse 4 and 5 says, "For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds." And this is not attacking a walled city. This is talking about dealing with strongholds of thinking, traditions, customs, cultures, just the way we do things, what the preacher said, how I always felt about it. These things are strongholds where we protect our own desires and where we believe lies as truth. Those things have to be torn down. But there's a more insidious adversary when it says in verse 5, overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, taking captive every thought. The idea here then is when I begin to reason in my own mind and evaluate all of the evidence, I am going to put my thumb on the scale of the side that I prefer to have the greater measure of weight. I'm going to give myself a less strict judgment, or I am going to overly judge myself and push it down to where I feel condemned and compelled to comply with someone else's reasonings or statements of belief, criticisms, when I walk in fear, when I walk in shame, when I walk in unbelief, when I walk in issues of my past, I'm going to put the thumb on the side that weighs too heavily against me. There is only one righteous judge, and he doesn't put his thumb on the scale one way or the other. He deals with us righteously. After all, you want a fair verdict. You want a righteous verdict. You want to know what the truth is. Therefore, he is our Torah Sheriff. He is our Torah Judge. and we need to appeal to him. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, shalom.